Imagine a man running from his own shadow. The faster he runs, the closer it follows. He tries different techniques. He changes his speed. He changes direction. He shadow adjusts every time. That man is you. That shadow is the ego. And the running that is modern meditation. Nobody is saying this out loud, and the ones who know are mostly selling retreats. The question nobody asks. You have heard it 1,000 times. Meditate 20 minutes daily. Focus on the breath. Be present. Be mindful. The ego will dissolve. Millions of people doing this every day. More anxiety than ever. More spiritual confusion than ever. More advanced meditators with bulletproof egos than ever. Something is wrong. Not with the people, with the assumption underneath the practice. Because nobody is asking the real question, who is meditating? A man once came to Tiruvannamalai, frustrated, exhausted, years of practice behind him. He said, I sit for hours every day. I follow every instruction. Still no peace. What am I doing wrong? Ramana looked at him quietly, then asked, Who is the one looking for peace? The man had no answer, because nobody had ever asked him that. Every teacher had given him a method, a technique, a posture, a mantra. But Ramana pointed somewhere else entirely, not at the practice, at the practitioner. He wrote in Nanyar, The thought I is the root of all thoughts. Trace it back to its source. That is the only real inquiry. Not how do I meditate better, but who is this I that is meditating at all? As long as there is a someone searching for peace, peace will never arrive, because peace is not a destination. The seeker himself is the disturbance. Nisargadatta Maharaj had no patience for performance. People would come to his small loft in Mumbai, some after decades of spiritual practice, and he would dismantle everything in minutes. He said, meditation is just another activity of the I. You are trying to use the mind to go beyond the mind. It cannot be done. In I Am That, he said something even sharper. The very desire to be free creates bondage. When you know you are free, you are free. It is only when you think you are not free that you are not. Think about what that means. You sit down to dissolve the ego, but who decided to sit down? Who chose the technique? Who is monitoring the breath? Who will feel progress after 20 minutes? Who will feel proud when samadhi arrives? The ego. Every single step of the way, you are not dissolving the ego through meditation. In most cases, you are giving it a new, more sophisticated identity. The spiritual ego is the hardest ego to see, because it wears the language of humility. Sage Ashtavakra said, the practice is the prison. This is where it gets truly uncomfortable. Ashtavakra, the sage who gave Janaka liberation in a single conversation, said something most modern teachers will not repeat. In the Ashtavakra Gita, he says, you are already free. This very effort to become free is the only thing keeping you in chains. Read that one more time. The practice itself is the prison. Not because sitting quietly is harmful, but because the one sitting believes he is incomplete, believes liberation is somewhere ahead, believes he must earn what he already is. And Ashtavakra is merciless about this. The wise man who knows himself to be pure consciousness does not practice, does not meditate, because there is nowhere to go and nobody to get there. He tells Janaka, you are the infinite ocean. Why are you trying to become wet? That is the entire joke. And most of us are spending decades not getting it. Dattatreya in the Avadhuta Gita goes even further. He says, I have no practice. I have no non-practice. I have no bondage. I have no liberation. I am pure awareness. That is all. He is not being lazy. He is pointing to something precise. Every practice implies a gap between where you are and where you want to be. And the moment that gap exists, the ego has a job. The ego loves projects. It loves progress. It loves the identity of serious, spiritual seeker. Dattatreya saw through all of it. He said the 24 gurus he learned from the earth, the water, the python, the moth, none of them were practicing liberation. They were simply being what they were, completely, without agenda. That completeness that is the teaching. The modern mindfulness industry's silent lie. Now step back and look at the larger picture. The global meditation market is worth over $9 billion. Apps, retreats, teacher trainings, certifications, all of it built on one invisible assumption. You are broken. We will fix you. 10,000 years of Advaita Vedanta says the opposite. You were never broken. You were never bound. The cage was imaginary from the beginning. And selling you techniques to escape an imaginary cage that is very good business. Ramana said it plainly. There is no bondage and no liberation for the self. These are only for the mind that has identified with the body. The self does not need practice. The mind cannot practice its way to the self. This is not pessimism. This is the most radical optimism possible. Because it means you do not need another 10 years. You do not need the right teacher. You do not need the perfect technique. You only need to see clearly, directly, now, what you already are. So what do you actually do? This is where people get frustrated. Fine, so I just do nothing? No. That is also a practice. The ego performing non-doing is still the ego. Then what? Ramana's answer was not stop meditating. His answer was, turn the attention back on the one who is meditating. Ask, who am I? Not as a mantra, not as a technique, as a direct, honest investigation. I note, in talks with Ramana Maharshi, a devotee asked, should I give up meditation? He replied, who will give it up? Find that one first. Nisargadatta said the same thing differently. Don't try to reach a state. Just be aware of what you are right now, not tomorrow, not after more practice, now. The shift is not from ignorance to knowledge. It is from seeking to seeing. Those are completely different movements. The crack in the illusion. Here is what actually happens in real inquiry. The moment you look for the meditator, you cannot find him. You find thoughts, sensations, awareness, but no solid, fixed someone sitting there. And in that not finding, something shifts. Not because you achieved something, but because you saw through something. Ashtavakra describes it simply, the man of pure understanding needs only a hint. The man of impure mind seeks for a lifetime and remains confused. That hint is this: the one who is trapped and the one who seeks freedom are the same movement of the same illusion. See that and the trap disappears. Not gradually, not after more practice. In the seeing itself, the greatest meditation. The trap is not meditation. The trap is the silent assumption underneath. I am someone who is not yet free. That assumption is the entire bondage. And no technique on earth can remove an assumption. Only direct seeing can. Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta Maharaj, Ashtavakra, Dattatreya, all pointing at the same thing from different directions, different centuries, different languages. You are already that which you are seeking. The greatest meditation is the one that ends all meditation. The greatest practice is the one that reveals there was never a practitioner. Now tell me in the comments, do you think effort-based meditation deepens the illusion? Or is it a necessary step? Real inquiry only. No spiritual performance.